Sorry about that, everyone. A few teething problems there getting started this morning. Don't know quite what's gone on, but one bit of software wasn't talking to the other. But hey, we're back with you now for another awesome quickie edition of LAM Live. So, what's all this about? Well, LAM Live is a kink positive set of downstreams or live streams for consenting adults during UK lockdown, a place where we can meet and connect with other members of the community during these difficult times. We try and stream as much content as we can, we try and keep it up and running, but occasionally we are subject to gaps in the broadcast and content takedown. That is just unfortunately life in 2020. So, what's going on today? Just to give you a quick rundown, at 1 o'clock we'll be having our newbie introduction. At 2 o'clock we'll be joining the Kink Shrink for Healthy Mental Practices, the weekly drop-in session. At 3 o'clock we're going to have a book reading. This week it's Pony Play with Zach from Dirty Sexy Words, and at 3:30 I'm going to be coming back in for some updates and a drop-in shop from one of the LAM stall holders. Little bit of a special week this as well. We're introducing a new challenge. An Easter egg challenge. What's all this about? Well, you know what? Kink has to be fun as much as anything else. So, throughout the broadcast, there are going to be things slipped in. Things that might kind of seem a little bit out of the ordinary. But there we go. What I'd suggest you do is get something together so that you can note these down. Keep a record of what they are exactly. Give as much detail as you can. And it's gonna reveal a code. Once you work out what the code is, what the theme is, shout it out in the live stream and you're gonna win a prize. Unfortunately, there is only one prize on offer. The first person that gets it is gonna win it. You know what? It's definitely worth winning this one. Okay? So, all you need to do is when you get it, hit like on the live stream and then let us know your guess. Okay, I will respond to the guesses as fast as possible throughout the day, but please understand I have multiple windows running, so it's one of those. I'm not sure whether you're all necessarily going to get it. So, that's the score, that's what's going on. The great news is you can also play that on catch-up. So as we go through the day, if you're not watching live, give us a chance. You might be able to catch up and still win the prize. Here we go. So, one of the things that's going on at the moment, LAM bonds. During lockdown, as we can't hold many events, we've held a couple this year, but we still have our ongoing costs, our storage, our subscriptions, our softwares, our systems that we use. Basically, LAM costs about £750 a month, regardless if we open the doors or not. Do the maths, it's been an expensive year for us, but don't worry, we're funded and going through. But at the end of the day, if you do want to get yourself a discount ticket for future LAM events, get one of the bonds that are up on the screen. For £5 you can exchange it for a daytime ticket after lockdown from second event onwards, and they're valid for 12 months. It's your way, I suppose, of helping invest in our future, making sure that we don't have to put the costs up moving through on the other side. We've also been running a Far-Flung Kink Award, and that's in recognition of the fact that the majority of our viewers aren't actually UK based. So our traders are sending stuff around the world, just about anywhere that you can imagine. Each month we're having a competition. The person who ships the furthest gets to win a prize for their customer. So the person who bought a Shibari starter kit in Australia, you expect a contact from Bear Bite Bondage, and they're going to give you a special prize. You've got £25 to spend on any of the LAM stalls. So if there was something else you wanted from Bear Bite, then this is towards that. Or alternatively, if there's another one of our stalls that you're interested in and you thought maybe next month, the month after, you know what, treat yourself on us. And thank you for being a customer, and thank you for proving the point, because kink is a global entity. And we often occasionally get caught up with the fact that we are geographically located, but as a kink world, we're all over the place. We've seen that because we look at the stats and where people come from, and it ties in nicely. So, one of the things you will see throughout the broadcast today are little adverts snipped in. Okay, these are just to give you an idea who our stalls are so that you can check them out, and also to help them particularly during this difficult time, because LAM isn't just a business of a few people, it's actually a big family. A family of traders, a family of crew, and we're all working together towards the common goals. And that's one of the things that makes us different, is that positive reinforcing message of doing the right things, not only for yourself, but for the people around you, because at the end of the day, when we're all stronger together. Okay, a very important message. And speaking of wonderful messages,
another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. Something unpredictable in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind. Hang it on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos of memories and dancing on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. Something unpredictable in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. Something unpredictable in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. Hello, this is Daisy from Daisy's Floggers. I've been trading for around 6 years now. I sell mostly floggers and whips and plus size ladies clothing. The whips that I trade are all made by Alpha Whips. He's based in Germany, he's my best friend, and he makes absolutely superb whips. I love what he makes. He's so creative, his colours are fantastic. The whips that he makes are really, really top notch. My floggers are all made by hand. I select finest quality leathers, I hand turn the wood myself, and I also use really lovely shiny metal handles. I love my job. It gives me freedom of expression, it gives me freedom of time. I like being creative, I like trying to do something that nobody else is doing. I love going to the markets, I love meeting people. I don't think there is a better job for me anywhere. It's just fantastic. What's the best feedback I've ever received? Well, one night I was at a club and I was admiring a pair of floggers that a young man was using. And I asked him where he got them from. And he said he really couldn't remember, he'd been gifted them, but he could put me in touch with a really good flogger maker who he was close friends with. And after a long time waxing lyrical about this particular maker, I asked, well, who is it? And he said, Daisy. And I said, I don't know you. He said, I don't know you either. I said, yes, but I'm Daisy. It was really nice to get the compliments, and the poor young man blushed very, very red. But yes, I can make floggers. And if you have something in mind that you'd like me to make, I will make you something. It will be my pleasure. You can contact me outside of LAM either by my website, which is daisiesfloggers.com. I'm on Facebook as Daisy's Floggers. I'm on Twitter as Daisy's Floggers. I'm on Instagram as Daisy's Vloggers, and I'm on FetLife as Daisy's Vloggers. So you can always get hold of me one way or the other. I am around. It's just me in the business, but I do pick up the mails pretty quickly. Hopefully the website's up and running now. It's a brand new one. Had a few teething problems, but hopefully everything's working now. Otherwise, go through LAM, and one of the LAM crew will get in touch with me, and I can get back in touch with you. Thank you very much for your interest.
Hi, I'm Michelle. Chris and I own Trust UK. We started trading at fetish markets in 2000 and opened our online shop, trustuk.com, in early 2001. From there, we ship worldwide. We sell a variety of toys, some pleasurable, some painful. We use in all areas of BDSM play. And we love creating new toys. We're always looking for something a bit different from the norm. Chatting with customers at the fairs, hearing about their loves and their play preferences, inspire us when we're developing new toys. We get great feedback about how different our toys are, but we're most proud of the feedback we get regarding our above and beyond customer service. Dealing with queries and problems in an amicable and efficient way helps us to show the customer just how important they are to us. Our email address is trustuk.sales@ntlworld.com, or for other ways of getting in touch, visit our contact page on our website at trustuk.com. Thank you. Play safe, stay safe.
on your feet. Stand up, stand up, stand up. Come on, get loose with the heat. Right now, leave the body till we black out. So get the fuck up.
And here we are coming round to 1 o'clock as we get ready for the newbie session. Just a quick reminder of the schedule for LAM Live this week. Newbies at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock we're joining the Kink Shrink for Healthy Mental Practices, our weekly drop-in clinic. And at 3 o'clock there's a book reading. This week it's Pony Play with Zach from Dirty Sexy Words. And at 3:30 I'm going to be coming up with some updates and some further news and a quick drop-in shop from one of the stall holders. And don't forget, if you haven't picked up on this so far, you might want to go back to the start of the feed, because this week we also have an Easter egg challenge. Yes, there are some subtle hidden symbols and messages in this week's live stream. If you can spot them, note them down, work out the connection, work out the anagram, you can crack the code. All you have to do is hit like in the live stream, let us know your guess. Only one guess per person, and the winner is going to win something. Outside of that, please, if you're enjoying it, if you want the latest on what's going on with LAM, then you know what? You have our clear consent for this, you know. Slide that cursor over, you know. Give a good spank to the subscribe button. That way you're going to know what's going on, you're going to get all the information, and you're going to get all the correct and accurate information. If you're enjoying today, you know what, do us a favour, hit the like button, okay, show some appreciation. There's a little bit of hard work has gone into all of this, particularly since we've kept it running since March. Yep, you know what, I think we probably hold the record for the longest continually running fetish market online, but there we go, that's another story. And equally, if there's something about the content that you're enjoying, share it. And that goes with all of the archive stuff as well, because you know what? This year alone, we've produced over 350 hours of content since March. So there's a fair amount for everyone in there. So delve in, look at the content, share some of it where appropriate. So what else is going on with the newbie session? Bit of an agenda here. You know what? With us, it's never a hidden agenda. Sorry, couldn't resist that one. I'm going to introduce you all to Kink Positive, a couple of quick messages from me. Then I'm going to hand things across to Phil, who's going to give you the orientation. Then we're going to skip on in and have a nice cup of tea. And then a couple of quick messages from crew and stall afterwards. So, what is Kink Positive? Well, Kink Positive is the driving force behind LAM. At the end of the day, LAM events are open to pretty much everyone, certainly regardless of your gender, your sexuality, your ethnicity, your age. We don't care. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go a step further. We don't care what you have between your legs, who you want between your legs, if you want to change what's between your legs, if you don't want to acknowledge anything between your legs, as long as you can accept kink as a positive influence in your life. This is where you are. Okay, this is what this stream is all about. And you know what? Dress code, streetwear, perfectly acceptable. You know what? I'd rather not hear about people wearing Ugg boots, but that's a different matter. If you wear them in a kinky context, I'll push it and I'll accept that your kink is okay, even if it's not my kink. But you know what? It's fucking Ugg boots. Grow up. Get some decent footwear. Fetish is massively encouraged, and you know what? If you are glamming up for Sundays to catch up with us, you know what? You may be in your finest rubber. You may have popped your favourite tail in. Send us a picture. It could win you a mug. At the end of the day, it's all about interaction. So, a couple of messages from me, because you know what? I do like to talk once in a while. First of all, most importantly, stay safe. This is a complex one. It's a difficult and unpleasant world out there at the moment, and it's just not worth taking the risks. Stay clean. Wash your hands. Wash your hands on a regular basis. I washed them at the start of the broadcast. I'm probably going to wash them before I talk to the kink shrink, and you know what? I'm going to be washing them before I finish up at the end of the day today. Please be supportive where you can. A little bit of positivity, you know what? You'd be amazed what it could grow into. 14 and a half years ago, I started something with a bit of positivity, and thousands, tens of thousands of people have come along and enjoyed it over the years. That's what LAM is all about. Okay? Equally, if you can, send a supportive message out to people. You know what? Any cockwomble, any idiot can slap on the crumbs of negativity. Okay? But it takes people with true strength to go out and do some positive stuff. Spoken to some interesting people this week, and on that note, I'm going to say, person I spoke to the other day going through some interesting problems, I hear your pain. Okay, we had a long conversation. I think that's the first of many conversations that we're going to have. Okay, because it's not about finding a quick fix to some of these problems. It's about dealing with things correctly yourself so that others don't get the ammunition to load against you. Share some of this if you can on social media, because again it gets the message out, not only for LAM as an organisation but the traders themselves. It's a difficult time because they can't be standing in front of people all the time at present and selling, so therefore we need to help them out. Okay, give them a big hug and share some of their content. If you've got someone who's having a birthday present at the moment, think about getting that present from a stall, because at the end of the day you know they're going to want what they've got, or they're going to like what they get, and they're probably going to be wanting it already. Okay, if you are shopping with the traders at the moment, when you place an order, write in the comment section, I'm not being a bug, and you know what, we do a free draw each month, and someone gets a free mug just for placing that order. Equally, you know what, you want to take a selfie of you watching LAM live, do it, pop it up on social media, hashtag it LAM live, tag us in it so that we can see it, and get into a draw for a free mug once a month. Equally, there's a Telegram group chat that we run throughout lockdown. If you're looking for people to chat to and just a random conversation, it's a great place to start. And equally, you know what, when someone impresses me with their selfie, I'm going to award a best dressed against that as well. Next thing to quickly tell you about is something to look forward to. Oops, he says wrong things on wrong screens. And this is March 2021. It may seem a while away, but you know what? It's halfway between March 2020 and March 2021, so it's only really around the corner. And what we're going to do, we're back. We're going to take over a hotel in the New Forest for the weekend. We're going to have a retreat, 19th to the 22nd of March. We have exclusive use of the hotel and all its facilities. Subject to the latest restrictions, we're going to be offering workshops, discussion sessions, stalls. We're going to basically aim to suspend reality as best as we can and have an awesome weekend, because you know what? We need those things to happen. If that means we have to Zoom the workshops and have them broadcast on a local network so that you can see them in the rooms and it's all separate, no need to be that close up, then we'll do that. And equally, you know what, we'll be able to find a way to space some people out so that they can get the full life experience. So, tickets up on the screen there. There's the link. There's a couple of rooms left to stay in the host hotel, or there's a myriad of local accommodation options. I'm pretty certain a couple of people camped last time. It was a bit harsh, the weather, but you know what? There are a couple of campsites open at that time of the year, and let's face it and be perfectly honest with ourselves, is that not the perfect antidote to our current times? A nice breakaway, quality people, only probably going to be 100, 120 tickets for this for the weekend, so when they're gone, they're gone. Okay, we can't overpack things at the moment, so it's going to be limited numbers, limited space, some awesome presenters. We're going to confirm up all those details across this month. This is what's happening with the LAM live streams at the moment. First Sunday of the month, if we're not holding an event, then we're going to be doing a massive long live stream. That's going to go from about 12:30 through to about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. All the usuals, workshops, content, a lot of interaction. Second Sundays, when we're not normally on, we're going to do a LAM live stream quickie like today. We're going to be on air from about 1 o'clock till 4 o'clock. Just give you the basics, keep up to date, give you an opportunity to catch in. Third Sunday, same again. Going to come out, bit of a quickie, slide it in there on a Sunday afternoon. You know, what else are you going to do at the moment? You certainly can't be meeting more than 6 people as of this weekend onwards. So there we go. Fourth Sunday of the month, in lieu of LAMchester, we're going to do another big one. Okay, 1 o'clock till 7:30, thereabouts. All of that LAMchester Northern goodness coming at you from the studio. And then if there is a 5th Sunday in the month, you know what? We're going to have another quickie again. Make sure that you have all the incentive to stay close to your terminals. Equally, as I've mentioned before, if you are looking at supporting us at the moment, you know what? Grab a bond. Think about the number of times you would have come to LAM across this period of time. Think about the money that saved you. You know what? Get yourself a future ticket at a discounted price and help us out a little bit as well. Because at the end of the day, £750 is an awful lot of money to scratch out of thin air each month. We're doing our best, but it is a painful process. Those of you looking for a chat while we're on the live stream, here are the details up on the screen of the Zoom chat. Hosted by Jerry down on the south coast. I hope the weather is awesome down there for you. And yes, the last retreat was completely awesome. So, you know what, Jerry? Why don't you tell a few people in the Zoom chat what went on with that, as far as you can under Chatham House rules, of course. And equally, there's a Telegram group chat that runs if you want to have a text-based chat and catch up with people. And equally, as I've said, you know what? Selfies, more than welcome. You take one, do us a favour, you know what? You might even be in with the competition and the Easter egg this week. Maybe you want to theme your selfie and join in with a little bit of fun. All you have to do is take it, tag it, post it up on social media, make sure that we're tagged into it so that we can find you, and we'll do a draw. Remember, stay home, stay safe, stay kinky, and you know what? Keep it less than 6, you filthy, dirty peoples. Now, throughout the live stream, you are going to see adverts pop up and crop in, connected with the stall holders. It's just our way of keeping you in touch with them. Remember, a lot of them are small independent businesses. They're not having the same Zoom catch-up socials that people in large corporates are having. So they need a little bit more care and attention. So what we're going to be doing is popping up the adverts as we go through. And the good news is there's no Hanshi 57 to worry about creeping up through the bottom of your bucket of popcorn. So here we go. Oops, he says, trying to get the screen to work today. The mouse is a little bit cantankerous.
Hi, Graham from Affordable Leather Products here. As you may well be aware, the London Alternative Market is offering advanced tickets as bonds to cover their costs during the time of lockdown. We at Affordable Leather Products have got 5 of these tickets. Oh, am I covering that over? What a shame. We're giving these tickets away. If all you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel, go to affordable-leather.co.uk/market and you find the link where you can subscribe. When we get up to 100 subscribers, we'll draw the 5 lucky winners and you can get free entry to a London Alternative Market when the lockdown ends and the market starts again. That link is affordable-leather.co.uk/market.
Hi and welcome to LAM, such as it is. What LAM likes to do is provide you with a space, place and a time to express yourself and how you want to be within consensual bounds. We can't do that at the moment because of the quarantine, so what we're doing is a virtual LAM instead, and welcome to that. We've got a lot going on. We've got stall holders on display, we've got different forums, different rooms. We can still provide you with workshops. So we are hoping that it provides you with at least a little bit of a fix to get you through this really dark time. So if you go onto the forums, you go onto wherever you got this video from, you'll find links to Zoom for the workshops, you'll find links to stall holders, you'll find everything that we can possibly get together at the short notice that we've had to organise something like this. If you have any suggestions, if you have any comments to make on the format that might improve it, then yeah, please do let us know. LAM is very heavy on consent. We like to make sure that everyone feels like they are comfortable and like they're not going to be pressured by someone. Consent is like a cup of tea. You can offer someone a cup of tea, but they're not obliged to say yes. They can say, you know what, I don't like tea. Tea's rubbish. I want coffee. And that's fine. That's their decision. You know, they're not under any kind of social obligation to accept your tea. In the same way, you know, if someone says, oh yeah, I do want a cup of tea, there's no reason for you to say, oh, you must finish that cup of tea. They're allowed to say, actually, I'm halfway through and, oh, I don't know, it's not agreeing with me, it's not sitting with me, I didn't want it as much as I did originally. And that's fine for them too. That's totally acceptable. You can't accept a cup of tea if you're unconscious. And as one of my crewmates would rightly point out at this point, please don't be unconscious at one of our events. That's not okay. We like to give you these hints, tips when you come to LAM so that you can navigate the world of kink safely, because ultimately it's up to us to self-police it. If you come up against a problem, if you let us know, we can do something about it. If we don't know, we can't do anything about it. But we will be there to have your back. There have been times where people have violated the rules of LAM and literally been thrown out of the venue. That's hilarious, by the way. Really recommend just being a voyeur for that experience if you ever get the opportunity. But that really does bring me nicely on to the rules of LAM for when we do go there, when we do go back. First and foremost is no photography. No photos. No photos. We say no photos. When I'm there in person, I get everyone to repeat it back to me after a 1, 2, 3 because it's such an important rule. You see, if you're just taking a cheeky selfie in the toilets and someone wanders into the background, just passing by, and that photo ends up somewhere on social media, on the Twitters or Instagrams or whatever else, then, you know, someone could recognise that person in the background on there, and if they're in a caring profession, you know, they deal with vulnerable people, they could lose their entire career. Doctors, nurses, lawyers, carers, teachers, all those people we're really relying on at the moment are really vulnerable in the kink world, and it's up to us to protect them. There are some exceptions to the photography rule. We do have crew photographers on standby. We have crew who can help you take photos if the you know, on your phone, if you want to take a photo of something, or you know, you're looking at a stall and think, I don't know if my friend wants to put this up their butt in green or in purple. We can help that, okay? We can give you that assistance. The crew works really, really hard to get you through the day like that. We put in a lot of effort just because we want you to have the best day possible. This is new to us, so be patient, this virtual event. We hope you enjoy it. Thank you very much.
If you're still struggling with consent, Just imagine instead of initiating sex, you're making them a cup of tea. You say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they go, yes, I would fucking love a cup of tea, thank you. Then you know they want a cup of tea. If you say, hey, would you like a cup of tea? And they're like, I'm not really sure. Then you could make them a cup of tea, or not, but be aware they might not drink it. And if they don't drink it, then, and this is the important part, don't make them drink it. Just because you made it doesn't mean you are entitled to watch them drink it. And if they say no thank you, then don't make them tea. At all. Just don't make them tea. Don't make them drink tea. Don't get annoyed at them for not wanting tea. They just don't want tea, okay? They might say, yes, please. That's kind of you. And then when the tea arrives, they actually don't want the tea at all. Sure, that's kind of annoying as you've gone to all the effort of making the tea, but they remain under no obligation to drink the tea. They did want tea, now they don't. Some people change their mind in the time that it takes to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk. And it's okay for people to change their mind. And you are still not entitled to watch them drink it. And if they're unconscious, don't make them tea. Unconscious people don't want tea. And they can't answer the question, do you want tea? Because they're unconscious. Okay, maybe they were conscious when you asked them if they wanted tea. And they said yes. But in the time it took you to boil the kettle, brew the tea, and add the milk, they are now unconscious. You should just put the tea down. Make sure the unconscious person is safe. And this is the important part again. Don't make them drink the tea. They said yes then, sure, but unconscious people don't want tea. If someone said yes to tea, started drinking it, and then passed out before they'd finished it, don't keep on pouring it down their throat. Take the tea away. Make sure they're safe, because unconscious people don't want tea. Trust me on this. If someone said yes to tea around your house last Saturday, that doesn't mean they want you to make them tea all the time. They don't want you to come around to their place unexpectedly and make them tea and force them to drink it going, but you last week. Or to wake up to find you pouring tea down their throat going, last night. But if you can understand how completely ludicrous it is to force people to have tea when they don't want tea, and you're able to understand when people don't want tea, then how hard is it to understand it when it comes to sex? Whether it's tea or sex, consent is everything. And on that note, I'm going to go make myself a tea.
And if you're still looking for the most awesome face coverings in town, then look no further than Jed Phoenix of London. Available on Etsy, subject to availability, some of the finest masks going. In fact, share a little bit of a funny story with you. About Thursday night this week, I needed to nip out last minute to pick some stuff up from my local shop. I was in there about 9:45. Whole bunch of non-mask wearers stepped in. all jostling with each other but giving me a nice bit of distance. One of them asked, that's an interesting mask, but why has it got the spike on the front of it? And I'm like, in case you step any closer, thank you very much indeed. But there we go, a little bit of individuality, and why mask yourself? You want to express yourself fully, and that's really what this is about. Don't forget, here are the details for Healthy Mental Practices with Kink Shrink, which will be coming up at 2 o'clock today. If you have any questions, you can email them in advance or send them through on FetLife Message as a great way of getting in touch. And we'll be joining the extremely talented lady herself at 2 o'clock. Speaking of talented individuals, very talented one here. Not only makes some of the finest floggers in the world, but this is her herself as a musician.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question but a lesson learned in time. Something unpredictable in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos of memories and dancing on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. Something unpredictable in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. Something unpredictable in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Are you a superhero? Are you fighting injustice in this world? Do you want to kick COVID's butt? Then grab a mask to outlast this pandemic. If you're into the themes of punk, fetish, gender fuckery, or neurodiversity, this is for you. Come, join the other misfits, freaks and weirdos, and celebrate your own unique expression!
Hi everyone, it's Phil again. Just want to talk to you a little bit about our traders at LAM. Traders in the kink community are a pillar that upholds the entire community. They produce and supply all of our equipment and toys. Without them, we'd be screwed. We wouldn't have anything to play with. And at this incredibly difficult time, we ask that if you can afford to, if you are in a position where you can purchase items, we are encouraging you to do so. Most of these traders are self-employed. They are not looking forward to the same benefits that most people get during this quarantine period. They are also looking at being, very, very curtailed in events they can get to, things like that. So we really want to support them, because without them, there's a hell of a lot less fun. So please have a look around, go to the trader stalls, links, go to their shops, their Etsy places. Don't be afraid to ask them questions. These people are some of the most experienced people in the kink world that I have met in my 15 years of running around and acting like a complete prat. And I love them all. They are amazing people, and we want to be able to do our best for them. Also, just a small note to say, if you see something and think, oh, that looks nice, but yeah, no, I kind of want it in blue to go with my outfit. I want it in red to go with my outfit. I want it, just ask. Most of these people make these things by hand themselves. And yes, that does mean they have a devilishly inventive imagination. So yeah, go ahead, ask them, do your thing, let them do their thing, let us do our thing. Let's stick together through this crisis. Thanks very much.
And speaking of things to look forward to, I've mentioned it before, I'm going to mention it again because you know what? It's the next thing I'm setting my my horizons on. March 2020, another hotel retreat, taking over a hotel in the New Forest. Going to be another magical weekend. Obviously there are going to be some restrictions and changes we may have to put in place, but the idea behind this one is it's an educational weekend to put the kind of content into your minds that we can't normally provide. So 2-hour workshop slots, a lot more advanced educational detail. You want to talk about internal electroplay, this will be one of the few places where I can actually do those kind of live demonstrations. So going to be one of those rare moments. We're working on the final details at the moment, but the last one, magical weekend. People just still rave on about it because something magical happens when you kind of get 100 or so kinksters together, reading the rules, make it very clear, say that the people who aren't welcome, well, they're the cockwombles and the angry dinosaurs, because this is about ethical, consenting, responsible adults and having a weekend away. Best way to do it, take over a hotel, paper out the windows and create our own kink utopia for it. You know what? Magical atmosphere, great way of winding down. Hot tubs will be back. There will be more hot tubs. Can't promise snow and snow bondage next year, but you know what? If it's feasible that we have a bit of a snow flurry on Sunday, we'll see what we can do. May even have a word with a friend of mine who's got a snow machine. We can make this shit happen. In fact, I was talking to someone recently who said, I can make it snow at a winter ball for you if you wish. So you never know what's going to happen. I'm going to have some more messages and content provided by the stall holders at this particular stage. Just to remember, because fundamentally this is really what this is all about. The traders that trade with us, that provide the awesome kink for us to play with, remembering them at this difficult time and helping them through as best as we can.
Welcome motel and apartment building. Cracked incandescent street lamps near turnpikes. I got a nondescript place that I'm telling you, you should spend the night. Where the water's warm and the chemicals, they flow out like poison. Where the girls have boys and the boys, they've got their husbands. Meet Captain Jack, he can get you high tonight. There's Beth and Susie too, they'll share the room if the price is right. Art Deco brickwork and neon signage. Inside the nights are long and the security, it's violent. Queens motel and apartment building. Humidity and make-believe, they sell powders made from strange trees. Your Adderall, it's the same thing. I walk through them all on pain pills. Laundromat district with the artists and the hipsters. There's a lovely girl that walks the street in a sequin miniskirt. So play nice and stay humble. Keep your business out the alley. Only drink dark beer from a bar called O'Shea's or O'Malley's. Guests arrive and it's usually minus their luggage. Whispers out front broken up by the plants near the guardrail. Queens motel and apartment building. If these walls could talk, they probably speak in Spanish. If these walls could talk, they'd share secrets of hidden indiscretion. If these walls could talk, they'd ask for a pack of cigarettes. If these walls could talk, they'd scold the lieutenants. If these walls could talk, they'd tweet about what they've seen.
You should settle down, pick your peace from the ground. Follow that ox border where the water runs clean. Dark sergeant, you won't abandon your post, it's long gone. The brass castanis, your pure conviction. Come darker days, they'll slowly stop shaking you. And you grieve for our heroes, cause no one knows their names. Yeah, but you and I doing what they change, your mates changed. Hey, dark soldier, make your peace with the ground. Hey, dark soldier, find where the water runs clean. Hey, dark soldier, stand down, stand down.
And sit down. Shut up and sit down.
Just a quick reminder of the details for the Healthy Mental Practices Zoom session that will be starting shortly. They're up on the screens, and I'll transition back across to some information on stalls and have that up as a transparency. Let's see if we can get this to work this time relatively smoothly, and there we go. Okay, just trying to get the connection stabilised and sorted out with the kink shrink. I'm going to put you in a holding pattern of some information on the stalls until we can bring this one back round and together. Please bear with us. Anyone who's playing a lot on Zoom conferences at the moment knows how deeply enjoyable this kind of thing is all the time, particularly when you're going out and doing it live. Yes, if you don't mind, that would be good. I just have to establish where we are. Right, okay. So we've got a little bit of a Zoom bug this morning. So unfortunately this session is going to be audio only on the YouTube archive, unless I can find out how to debug it while we're going along. Thank you again for your time, Debs. Sorry, not everyone can, or I can't see everyone as usual. So Jerry, if you won't mind keeping an eye on others to make sure that they're behaving themselves. Anyone who isn't can be booted out quite readily. Again...
No wanking, no masturbating, regardless of what genitalia you've got. It's only happened once, but someone was saying, David, they can see right up your nose from there.
Yes, I'm just trying to move the camera around so that it's easier for me. There we go. There we go. Right. A little bit easier there.
We were just talking about, so somebody asked me some advice yesterday and they were saying, I'm going to go on a date. I haven't been on a date in ages, but I'm going on a date from an MS perspective or a DS perspective. What should I do and what should we talk about? And I was saying, normally talk about on a date, like, because for me, I don't see that we do any different. You've got to find a connection between two people. Unless you're purely going to be paid partners, like this person wants a DS relationship, you've got to get on as humans. I think when I first started, I do think I did go into that place that said, oh, this person's now going to take over and everything, and they're going to tell me to take my knickers off and shove them up or whatever, or they're going to tell me to do these things or wear these things. And actually, I don't invest that up front anymore. I'm really clear that those are things I can do and will do, because of course I want to obey and I want to be a good girl or whatever those things mean. But I also want to see if you can listen to limits and boundaries, and if we can hold a conversation, because sex and play is also about talking, isn't it? It's about communication, and it's about getting on and hearing no and yes and limits and discussions. And I don't know, are we that different to everyone else out there? I think 90% of our lives is pretty vanilla in its way.
Well,
what do you think?
To me, as you know from what I've been working on recently, there's a lot of layering to it. Now, so it's a very difficult situation if the start of the negotiation is entirely around MS and those kind of dynamics. Then once that foundation is put in place, I would expect to have put the building blocks in and be going forward from there. So an awful lot more written communication and verbal communication to start off with, and then you don't really go on a date in MS mode, because, okay, let's put it out there, I'm perfectly happy to say that you can have a Velcro based MS collar, but actually that is different to those that have a collar riveted on. Yeah, so they're fundamentally the same, on the same spectrum of behaviour, but to hold them in exactly the same space I think is incorrect. So if you're having a MS relationship which is role play based, then yeah, you might be going out and having a date in that mode. But actually, if you're having a proper MS based relationship, then date, MS, they really don't quite go together. So,
but actually, but even if they do, maybe that's the key. Maybe something you've just said is the balance, it's the difference. If it's just a role play to you, then you won't go on a date for dinner anyway, will you? It's irrelevant. But you might just want a first safe meeting as such. But maybe that's the difference. If it's a lifestyle thing and you want to see if you get on with somebody, whether you can wake up together, sleep together, snore together, fart, shit, piss together or not, or on each other, or whatever it is that floats your boat, you've also got to be able to get on. You've also got to have some connection in some way, shape or form if you want to build a relationship. Whereas if you are just doing a role play, then if you went out for a date or a dinner, it would have an edge to it. I mean, again, it goes back to that piece the other day, doesn't it? I wouldn't suggest that you hang someone up in a pub, nor spank them and with just suspenders on. That's just fucking ridiculous from my perspective. Brings us into disrepute and takes a risk. Like, you know, maybe don't give that person a blowjob under the table if it's a really open, obvious place or whatever. So So that role is because it's role play. That would be different to we are developing a whole relationship around this, whereby one person definitely takes charge of another, and it's got a very different feel to it. But I think you've got to earn the right to take charge. I think a long time ago when I started, there was this automatic right of charge. I don't know if you remember back, any of you. Anyone here done kink longer than 20 or 30 years?
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back that far, Jim, if you want to talk, please do. There's not that many of us in here, so if you want to take yourself off mute, or if anyone else does, please do and join in. Yeah, but even with a break. So if you go back all that time, I do wonder. So then, when I was going to parties and stuff and finding out about this stuff, it was all private parties. There weren't so many clubs. There weren't so many venues. Things were really different. And it felt like there was a hierarchical structure that you came in and you had to do this and you had to do that, to do this and to do that. With the onset of the internet and everything else as well, people can run before they need to walk as such. They can learn all this stuff. They can look at things up on YouTube. Yeah, it was a much smaller world, wasn't it? And everyone knew, well, not everyone knew everyone, but there were pockets of knowledge of people. And you could tell who was dangerous quicker, actually, because people would have safety in mind in smaller groups. But I would say it was more abusive, actually, personally. As a very young woman entering that world at 18, 19, you were expected to suck so-and-so's dick, or fuck so-and-so, or do this to get to a party, or do that. In some respects, there was a real premise of taken power in a way. And I think that's changed along with time.
Yes, stroke no. I think with choice and things opening up, you no longer have that barrier to entry. So you no longer have to ensure that you get on with X, Y and Z in order to be accepted. But and that's variety, openness, choice, and that's what it has brought us. But there are still individuals out there who operate as a fiefdom. So their premise and their build-up is entirely, my way is the one true way, therefore you must do it my way or subscribe to my approach, my methodology, my foundation, my belief, and therefore you're wrong.
I guess what I would argue is slightly there, because you and I like an argument. I agree with you, I think that's true. But I think what we've got nowadays is more choice. I think everything was a little fiefdom then. It's not now. You can go on FetLife, you can find people, you can do stuff, and you can have a different date, and if it is a date. And I think what Jim says is really true there as well, that an MS relationship is still a relationship, there's just not a vanilla element to it. But actually there is, because you do have to do the washing up, you do have to wash the sheets. Even if you tell someone else to do it, I think there's vanilla in everything.
Can I clarify? I mean, I agree you have to get on. There has to be a relationship. You have to like each other. You have to go on with each other. But you don't have to approach it from a vanilla mindset. And none of my girls I've ever been on a date with, they're not girlfriends, they're not wives, nothing like that. They apply to serve me. And just talking about the two that are here with me just now, they've been with me over 17 years, nearly 18 years. And the relationship is MS. There's no vanilla thing involved in it at all. And obviously that's worked for us. I'm not suggesting it's for everyone else.
I would disagree actually, Jim. I mean, I've heard the three of you chatting. Then you act like with other people. It's not always me master and slave. When you're chatting on Zoom chat, for example, you have to be equals.
Yeah.
Even when you're telling them to go and cook your lunch or whatever, if they're not a yes master all the time. So there is. I'm sorry, but vanilla isn't bad.
No, I agree with that as well. I don't know if we are disagreeing. I think we're probably saying the same thing. I don't see that.
We have opposite ends of the same coin. Yeah. That's the way we see it. I'm the driver and boss, they're the engine. It's a team.
Yeah. And it's a more extreme version than other people playing, and that's where I think the analogy for me is always at one end of the spectrum is a Velcro collar and a pair of fluffy handcuffs, and at the other end of the spectrum is the collar that gets riveted on with a hot strike, and the elaborate set of piercings that all interlock with a clasp and an asp. So it's not as black and white as here are my vanilla elements, here are my, because in your case, Jim, the driving element is the structure and the MS, and that is the bit that's important in terms of it has to be foundation right, and the more traditional elements of, ooh, I like her because I like her eyes or her smile, aren't actually the driving forces. Would you say that's correct?
I would say that's probably absolutely correct, yeah.
Yeah, and I know this because it's really unusual. I've had relationships with people where it is entirely power dynamic based, and there is no emotional investment in it to me, and I can say that because I know, because I can be that cold, and that was actually the bond between us was built on things that weren't emotive. And it worked exceptionally well because of that. I can count on the fingers of one hand the number of people I've touched with the lips of my mouth in the last 10 years, because it's not something that I get any joy from, and actually it's one of my boundaries. So I will literally have that set aside to say no. And it comes about from years ago. I kissed someone on the forehead, and that was the last time we played, because to them it was like, whoa, I never expected him to show that level of emotion, and it actually broke what we were doing. Great shame, but there we go.
Yeah, and so I think maybe that's the key here then, isn't it, in some respects, is find your own way of doing things that's right for you. For me, underneath it, as a female submissive, maybe I come from a slightly different angle, maybe. My safety is paramount to me. If I've been in a relationship with someone for 10, 12, 15, 17 years, I'm aware that my safety is much more cared for and thought of. If I'm going on a first date, and actually I think male dominance should think of this as well, I don't want too much DS. I as a female submissive, and I don't know if your girls are the same, Jim, or anyone else here is the same, I find it really hard as a female submissive. People think I'm dead hard, and somebody wrote to me, well, that's not a very empathic statement the other day when I wrote something about being Eeyore, and I said it wasn't supposed to be. It's supposed to be educational. Of course I can be empathic. I can be really sweet and kind. However, I can be too sweet and kind. People think I'm really strong and capable. But actually, if a man who I like and want, either as a partner and or as MS and or as DS, whichever one we're looking at, I find it really hard to say no and to go against what they're saying. That's always been a battle for me. So from my perspective, unless I know that there's a safety when I'm first starting with someone, I want more equality, because I'm likely to give quite a lot anyway within boundaries, and I just don't want that chipped away at even more. I want that built as a safe structure so I can give everything, and then that, as that relationship develops and it's got care and trust in it, that I am giving a lot. I met this French chiropractor. Oh, fuck, he's not a chiropractor. Jesus, Deborah, what's the name for a heart surgeon? Why can't I think?
Cardiologist.
Thank you. Jesus. So I met this French cardiologist, and I think he's still on FetLife. And we met a few times. We didn't actually do anything, but all the meetings that we had were very controlled. He was utterly into 100% control. I'm somebody who works for 50 to steal your heart. That's so funny as a comment. That's so funny. No, he didn't steal my heart. Because actually, I'll go back to what Taking an eBay break said, apart from spectaculars like Witchcraft for the smaller social groups, which it was, on the dark side, ostracising and blackballing was far more prevalent. So were predators. It's the same thing. And for me, this guy wasn't right for me, because I have 10 minutes in between clients. I pee, I do stuff, I need to eat, I try and have a lunch break, and I do all of those things and look after myself as well. He was saying, you need to get naked, write all over your body, take a photograph. I can't flip in and out of that professionalism into that and keep doing it. And I felt exhausted just trying to do it a little bit. And actually it was impacting my work, my self-care. Even if few times, and when he said to me, "You're such a disappointment," which is just a cuntish thing to say, I felt it was cuntish because I'm really trying. I need that connection in order to build something, to know that that person's got me. Years ago, I wrote this thing about catch me, like, are you going to catch me? Are you going to stop me from falling? Because I will fall into being submissive and do those things. So I'll agree, making connection with someone, ensuring it's all safe and secure is the first step before trying to give my submission over to them. I set down so many rules, specifics on the first meetings before I'm sure. Yeah, but maybe that's, I want to go straight to MS because of that. Sorry.
I just wonder when your original question was someone saying they're meeting someone from FetLife. Now, I think it was the woman talking here, was it?
Yes, it was a woman.
So she was saying she's going on a date with him. I wonder if that was the man's perception as well, whether he also thought he was going on a date.
Yeah, so they're good questions, aren't they? Yeah.
When you meet someone on FetLife and agree to meet them, the expectation is you're doing that with a view to play, or with a view to form some kind of DS relationship with them.
So, like the exact words, I'm meeting a guy from FetLife tomorrow for a coffee with a view to potentially, see, there's a lot of ifs and buts there, starting a DS relationship. I'm also meeting another couple of guys over the next few weeks. I'm nervous about tomorrow's only coffee, but I've no idea what we could or should talk about. Where do I start?
So she's doing it in order to start a DS relationship. She's not doing it in order to find a boyfriend or a partner. That's the way she's focusing. That's the way she's framing what she thinks she's doing. And she's going to who's potentially going to be her dom.
And I think the answer to that is you need to establish what information you want to establish what kind of dominant this person is. I'm going to swing this back to part of what you just said there, Debs, about this person had such an incredibly controlling set of instructions that you felt set up to fail from the start. Now, that's actually something that I see a lot in a completely vanilla business context, where one of the problems that I deal with all the time, it's very, very common for organisations to blame their customers. You didn't follow the instructions, you didn't do everything correctly, we can't do this today because you haven't done this. And
yeah, but if I have to wait for 3 hours on the phone to get through to you, I cannot.
Yeah, and the reality of this is quite often they're delivered in such weighty documents that the person who receives it the first time looks at it and they're not invested in it because there's no connection, because it's written in an incredibly dry and basic format. And I think coming back to the person's what do they need to understand what they define as MS so that they can establish when the other person communicates their definition, if they're on the same page. Because again, we could, if it was me and I was talking about an MS dynamic, then approaching into it, I think there would be certainly a level of assumption that it was an exclusive relationship on that level, at least initially, and therefore, hang on a minute, I want to be in an MS relationship, but I also want this as well. And that's, again, coming back to the, if someone approaches me and says, this is what I want to do and I want all of this as well, then my answer is going to be, probably like Jim would say, thank you, no thank you, because you're in this relationship to support me and I will support you, and I don't think that can be done within the framework of everything else that you've got going on. So that...
See, you know I'm a big believer in this. When I see couples or polycules, or I'm working with relationships that are failing, be they MSDS or whatever, one of the first things I'll go to is your definition of words. What does the word dominant and submissive, what do they mean to you? Yeah. What does an NS relationship look like? So you've got to be on the same page first to even get your puzzle pieces in a row afterwards, because if you start wrong, it goes wrong. So you have to have a similar or same sort of meaning. For me, my MSDS relationships are based on romance, they are based on love, they are based on care and all of those things. But everyone's different, aren't they, about how they see things?
Yep. Yeah, and it's almost, we can understand, or we understand the headline terms, but the specificity of what these things mean is where the variable lies and where the potential for misunderstanding lies. And I think it's something that I've been wrestling with writing for the last couple of days is about intent for crossing lines. So when things go wrong, they do go wrong, things happen. The washing machine breaks once in a while, it's life. Now, if you intended to break the washing machine by pouring a bag of cement into it, and then went, bloody hell, it's the washing machine's fault for breaking, then you need to address that issue, if that makes sense. So, to me, why things go wrong is becoming as important, and the intent behind it, as accidents happening, because there are situations where mistakes occur and they don't have the intent of malice, and therefore they're easier to resolve and prevent in future than, to me, I'm the Uber master, here are my 16 pages of instructions, and at a moment's notice you must strip yourself naked and graffiti all over yourself and take a picture for my edification. Well, if that had been given to you as an example on day one, you'd have probably gone, yeah, thank you, no thank you, not interested.
Oh my God, I cannot do that. You are setting me up for failure. But also, I think as well, what people forget, and I'm sure that Jim and his girls have had this in some way, so I'm assuming something for you, Jim, here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. And that is that sometimes, you know, even the person in charge can't hack it. Sometimes they're not okay. Sometimes they're ill. And although the MS is there as something else, sometimes I think the girls or whoever, there's sometimes people who can take over and look after, but always with that respect for the relationship in mind. It's always there, but you know, the person can't do it for a few weeks or a few months for whatever reason. Maybe they've got some depression, maybe something's going wrong, or maybe something else happens. And if you just want a permanent forced dynamic almost, or a pressure dynamic, one person can't keep that up forever. So you have to have the agreement of, I'm agreeing to this, because when this person starts to drop or not feel well or something happens, then at least these people, in Jim's case the girls, or in say monogamous or whatever anyone is, or whether we're poly or whatever, these people already know the dynamic, so they look after the person within the dynamic that's agreed, because it is agreed. In Jim's case the girls, or so taking an eBay break on a play basis never interfered with work or family. I used to have a mistress who would deliberately set booby traps and set me up for failure. Why? Like, why do we do that? Look, if it's part of the dynamic and that's good for the dynamic, then great, because it can be an excuse or a reason for punishment. But I guess I've always come from a place of, you don't need an excuse to punish me. If I've done something wrong, punish me. And if I'm not doing anything wrong and you want to hurt me, just hurt me because you want to. Because it's fun and we can have a good time. I really struggle with failure as a human being. I had two awful situations last week, one with a newish client and one with a client that I'd been with for about 3 weeks, and they really both weren't happy with me about some boundaries that I'd held and some things that I'd said, and they disagreed. And you know, I actually came away, and I think I even wrote on a few on the LAM group, and I was just saying, you know, fuck, am I a failure? I go straight into I'm not okay, which isn't very healthy. I can come out of that as well. I don't need to be set up for failure. It would distress me enough. And that's the other thing. I think you have to find out what works for your people and what doesn't. You don't need an excuse. If you want to give me fucking 20 lashes with a cane or whatever, or a whip, you can do that. That's part of the dynamic.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about so my current mistress is super supportive and nurturing, and it's so much healthier, and I'd agree with that. You know, I'm a big believer in, it doesn't matter whether it's a DS, MS, poly, monogamous, marriage, I don't care what the relationship is, nurture each other and come out relationships better than when you went in. Not better, but, you know, nurtured, cared for. But we don't tend to do that oh, listen to me, I was about to say nowadays, when I will last, when I was 60, it's just bollocks, isn't it? And there is less care, people are more selfish, there is a definite change. Submissive vote with their feet, if it's not right, they leave. And they do, and people think they can't. I would also argue though, Jim, over the years, I've had real trouble leaving relationships. I've probably left them a year after I should have done, as a human being. Again, because I am submissive, not that that's an excuse, because it isn't, and it's not a good excuse. But I will leave things later than I should do because I still want it to work and I'm still working and really trying hard and probably carrying the other person sometimes. And I'm not sure that's particularly healthy either, but I would argue a fair few female submissives do that because they're very used to not putting themselves first. So it's much more difficult for them sometimes to vote with their feet when they should, which is probably about 6. I said the other day in one of the workshops, it takes on average, if you've got a very long-term relationship and one person's left or is about to leave or going, they probably I've been thinking about it for 2 years. No, I don't. So someone said, do I see relationship breakups as a failure? No, I don't. I think sometimes it's just the end of something and sometimes it's a change. Sometimes you can see it coming and you know it's going to come. You can work at it. I see a lot of relationships, not as a failure, but I don't think people try particularly hard. I work with a lot of couples who come in and polycules who come in and they're giving up way before they could do if they want to. Sometimes a breakup is good, so like Sheil just said, a breakup can be needed. It's not always healthy to keep it in, so it's a failure not to leave. And I think it's a bit of everything. It's not a failure, but I think sometimes you get a relationship where one person just isn't trying and doesn't want to try and isn't making an effort or putting their time into it. And if you're putting way more time in, you have to work out what's okay, what works for you. Again, that goes back to what David was saying earlier, and Jerry said it, I say it, we all say it really in some way, shape or form, is you have to define what's healthy and good for you. You must start with boundaries. You must know what you want and what you're willing to give, what you're willing to accept, and what you're willing to say yes or no to make it balanced in the middle.
My last MS relationship changed dramatically in its final years because we weren't living together, but we had a very, very strong emotional and spiritual connection. And that was right to the very end. So the commitment was to be there till the end, and I was.
Yeah, no, I know.
And that I think is the reason that I don't go back to MS is that pain is still very incredibly palpable, and it defines and respects that moment. Yeah? And if you came to me to talk about something that was Velcro based, I'm not interested because I've lived at the other end of that. If that makes sense. And again, it's establishing that understanding from the start because it's investment from both sides. And
that's kind of about as well, that respective investment on both sides. You know, just because someone tells you to do something all the time doesn't mean that it's a 99.1% relationship. There's an awful lot of time and investment in the person doing the telling because they care in a different way as well. As clearly you do, because you're clearly very emotional about it and what happened.
Oh, yes. I mean, it's still something that for those memories to have been worth what they were for the years that they were, it has a huge investment on so many different levels, and it still chokes me up in a way that no other thing will. But that's I think an important message to get out because it is an individual's and their definitions thing. Yeah.
Would you go there again? If the right person turned up?
But under the right circumstances and with the right negotiations and the right understanding, and yeah, I mean, I've had several MS-based relationships, and one of them I reconnected with that person over lockdown because they found themselves homeless with a dog and needed a place quickly. So I'm like, yeah, okay, look, come and stay with me. And although the relationship had changed and evolved, there was very much a comfort and tranquility back to the house where, for at least the first couple of weeks, the dynamic was the natural energy to the house. Because coming into my space, having been disrupted elsewhere, that was kind of the coming back to where it was before, and then found a more comfortable footing for both parties later. So yes, I would go back to it, but I would only enter it understanding, and I'm going to steal a word from Debs here and say that the pre-mortem for me includes that pain and anguish of sitting there holding someone's hand as they pass away.
But you know, that's what people don't get. So when people say they want a monogamous relationship or they want a forever relationship, so they're always with someone, what they haven't considered is death.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you've got somebody, and it can happen in their 40s, 50s. My sister was told she had 3 months to live 11 years ago, and she is 53. She was told in her 30s she had cancer then the second time around, and her partner was devastated. They had a 5 and a 3-year-old, for fuck's sake. They were like, and she had a mastectomy, she had chemo, it was awful. Then she had 5 clear years, a sick okay or whatever. And again, you know, if you speak to Mick about it, he'll say, you know, I'm on the edge of losing my life mate all the time. And even now, like, she's on this drug regime and everything else as well. She's amazing. She's brilliant. She's very alive and vital and incredible. She helped me through my journey last year, for sure. Fucking hate that word, journey, but let's go with that, because there isn't much of a better one. But that's what people don't think about. They don't think about, and in fact, it's worse. And this is where I'll argue. If people have a very strong MS relationship, if you meet a couple that have been together for 50 years, and they are both very set in their ways as together, and one of them dies, when you look at people in their 90s, or even over the last 10 years in their 80s and 90s, you have got people where one doesn't know how to use the fucking washing machine and the other one doesn't know how to balance a checkbook or write a you know, how to pay for a bill or how to use a phone or so many other things, because they've just got no idea. And the devastation when they're left, did I write about this the other day? I was talking about something similar about, you know, that broken heart syndrome. People can die within 3 months of each other because they are broken hearted. We don't talk about this enough. We don't talk about it in kink enough. I worked with somebody a few years ago whose husband had died, and that was her master as well. You know, it's devastating, and vice versa. It doesn't matter what the gender or the position is. We talk about breakups. We don't talk about people dying or becoming seriously ill, and then what do? Because the whole relationship can turn on its head. I could not have done DS or MS last year, without a doubt. I was hospitalised after each chemo. I was so ill. I just needed someone to look after me. I could not have looked after anybody else at all. So then what do you do at that stage? And then that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, that's an interesting question, maybe, like, for Jim and his, I suppose. You know, how does that happen then? Like, if you're incredibly ill or the girls are incredibly ill, and have you had that? Have you spoken about that potentially, or what happens, or haven't you? Or it should come. I've written about it before. Death, ending of a relationship, all of those things should be part of an MS and a DS contract. How are we going to do it? What does it look like? What do I do? Because if you've also set up systems whereby you are in charge of people's orgasms or in charge of people being functional or okay, or you've spent the time with them, like you have, David, through those moments, how do we want this to finish? What do you do afterwards? What do I do afterwards? What does that look like? And I think people in vanilla relationships could do it as well. I think anyone could do it. How are we going to do this? What does it look like? And sometimes it can help us stay closer together. And sometimes it can make people realise actually splitting up isn't that bad, maybe we should. But at least you have some kind of plan of right, okay. I watched I watched Golden Circle last night. one of the Kingsman type films, and you know they have their doomsday plan, don't they? I think that principle of having a doomsday plan with somebody is different. So Jim said, I've often said to see my girls at their best, you have to see me at my worst. Believe me, it's been tried and tested. My girls are indeed very submissive, but make no doubt about it, they're also shield maidens and will step up to the plate when needed to do so. Exactly that, because that's the relationship that you've developed, and maybe you've spoken about these things. And that's what's important to me as well, like how do we put that in place? Why would you think it's often done too late? It's done too late when you're told you have a serious illness. Now you will have to react rather than what's my plan? I'm fucking glad I thought ahead. I made sure I had insurance and everything, so I had a massive lump sum of money that I could choose what I did with. I'm uninsurable now, but I had choices. I could do things, and we need to do that in relationships as well, maybe.
I think you're right. It's the choices between reacting and being proactive to things. So much in life, if you are proactive and put the steps and balances in to start off with, the solution that you need later is, it might cause you to break step, but it's not going to cause you to break down. Now, and I know hindsight is 20/20, and could we have picked a better year to reflect that? No, we couldn't. But this itself is the point. Yeah. And Jim said something there, to know his girls at their best is to know him at his worst. I say that with the LAM groups all the time. To know us in difficult times is to know us at our best, because hell yeah, we can't hold events, so let's do this. Let's make something online, and let's do something as positive as we can to keep people together and to keep things moving forward.
And the thing is, when you're young and vital and virile, and I'm not just talking about, cis-born men, I'm talking about human beings full of life and vitality. As Madam Wasp just said, I think in any relationship, whether vanilla or LS, you have to have that conversation. My son and I have had it, as I did have cancer 3 years ago, and having had surgery, I told him before we started our dynamic. And I think we have to think, okay, a little bit of what if, not to ruin it or make it shitty, but if you create dependency, I see it in very controlling, narcissistic type relationships. I've worked with, well, I have, David, I've worked with someone in particular who was in such a controlling, narcissistic dynamic that when this person came out, they couldn't orgasm for a year, they couldn't brush their own hair, they couldn't do anything. And we worked together long and hard on that sort of stuff, and she just lost all her joy around rope, around play, around everything. She started to question even if she was kinky anymore. At that level of control, if someone does that from an abusive perspective and then leaves that person hanging, now there's no such thing really as brainwashing and changing. People will change. The only thing therapy can do is maybe hurry that up a little bit. The person will get out of it. It might take a year or two, and it might make a difference. So Liz writes, I think having a clear distinction between fantasy and reality is important here. Communication about want, needs and so on needs to happen, but realistically in a way that's going to work in life. I think that takes a lot of trial and error negotiation. Also, we're all human, working and building a power exchange in a way that works for us is part of the fun and is super fulfilling because it's tailored to those involved gradually throughout the relationship. Mental health and unforeseen events and so on can influence how it's tailored and ought to be part of the conversation, for sure.
It's also kind of stepping back and learning on a regular basis. I started doing conditioning and orgasm control in 2007. Now, at that time, conversations about ethical parachuting down afterwards were just never had. And equally, the tools and resources to help people do that weren't available. So having the three-dimensional sound recorder so that you can capture voice in a realistic setting, and therefore you could use that to parachute someone down from something over a period of time, as the amplitude of the wave of emotions starts to filter and they gain more control back. And those are conversations I don't think we would have had a decade ago because...
and the scene's changed, hasn't it? As technology's changed, as life has changed, as awareness has changed. And taking eBay break said that's a long time to control a single orgasm. But Ben's just come up with a really good question as part of that. As a young person myself, how do you have those sort of conversations if neither of you have been through difficult times and probably aren't mature enough to have those conversations? Yeah, and actually, as taking eBay said, you can start with what if and what's your thoughts on. Is for me, for example, if I'm entering into a relationship, I do think about those things because they have happened to me. But there's still what if. I'm cancer-free right now, but I am going to ask, what if? What if it's still there? What if I stand the same chance as any one of you of getting cancer again? There's no difference. I don't stand more chance. It's whether the chemo's killed this particular type and strain. But I'm more likely to have those conversations, and I think the older you get, you are like that. But I'm going to argue, if you are old enough to negotiate fisting somebody or cutting someone or stitching or piercing or whipping or hitting or punching, you're old enough to say, what if shit hits the fan? I really believe in that we do have the maturity. So if you're going to start doing stuff that puts someone slightly at risk of prolapse, of all sorts of different things, and that's what we don't do. We see this as sexual fun, which it fucking well is, and it's fantastic, and we can be having a great time. No, I mean slightly sarcastically, it goes back to my whisk story. I would never have asked somebody if they hold a whisk in their fucking toy box. Why would I ask that question? I do now, and it made me laugh because I bought a copper balloon whisk the other day. I ruined one because I was making an acrylic pour painting, and I made this painting and the whisk always gets stuck in it. It's hard to get off, so I just chuck them in the bucket and they go. And it makes me laugh every time I chuck one and it gets stuck because I think, oh, at least this painting isn't red. So, and it's, maybe that's why I don't like red particularly. But it's important, if you're old enough to discuss the stuff that we do, you're old enough to discuss the stuff that could happen, because we turn around and we say, as a group, we say our relationships are more intense, we say our relationships are better. We make some huge claims about us compared to vanilla. And as Jerry said earlier about vanilla isn't worse, it's not. People out there, we all have different intensities of relationships for different reasons at different times. And if we are going to claim that ours are better, stronger, whatever, then we also have to work out, gosh, if I can work out how to fist you and then not create a vacuum and cause an issue, I'm also going to work out what would happen if something happened to you and you were hit by a car or whatever, and have those potential conversations too.
Can I also say two things that might be slightly controversial? Okay, if you're new and inexperienced at these things, it is possible to talk to old people who may have possibly done it a few times before, and here's the really controversial part about that: it's possible to have the conversation with them without actually playing with them. So if you want to come along and say to someone, hey, look, I want to have a conversation with you over Zoom about what it's actually like to do this kind of stuff and what is the intensity, and yeah, people are happy to do it, but you've got to kind of pony up the courage, and the answer is, oh my god, I'm going to be hung upside down and used as a vase. Maybe I should speak to a few people who've done it first to get a bit of an understanding, and therefore I'll have learnt from the mistakes that they have made and won't have to learn them myself. Now,
one of my biggest questions when you're about to meet someone, and maybe for that person who started off this conversation, or at least a florist, like actually never put flowers in someone's cunt. If you really want, dirty flower water holds some of the most awful bacteria for people, that these the most vicious amount of antibiotics that are around, and that's old soap. So you wash someone's mouth out with soap and water. If your soap has soaps come underneath it and someone ingests that or takes it down, the antibiotics needed to do that either need to come in the form of an injection or the form of a fucking drip. So old soap and whole flower water, like as in flowers, don't ever play with that shit. But why would you know that stuff? I only know that stuff because of something that happened to my daughter when she had such a strange bacterial infection. They said, have you drunk any flower water or been in any mineral soap recently? And I was like, oh, that's interesting from a king perspective. Because, you know, whoever knows, you wash your mouth out with soap or you stick it up someone's cunt, you'll give them
So you have to actually put 2 condoms over the stalks of the flowers. So you wrap it first in like kitchen towel. You put a condom on. You then wrap it again in kitchen towel and put another condom over the top, because otherwise, otherwise things stick through and stick in the wrong places, etc. But again, it's the doing of it several times. Do you learn? Oh, actually, the feedback was that would be really appreciated. That should be changed, etc., etc., etc.
And it's important to have conversations with people, isn't it? And it's important to have conversations of what if. So, as Madam Moss just said, it can come down to something as simple as funeral arrangements, i.e. does your family know who some dude sobbing in the back of the church? And that's really true too. There are many situations that have come up, especially as I've been doing this for like 38 years now, where people have died. And it's just having the forethought for that sort of stuff as well. Of my kids know if they come into my bedroom, that wardrobe on the right, that massive grey double wardrobe, I put a photo of it on the other day, it is full of shit. Let someone else come in and sort that out. Don't necessarily make it your kids or somebody else. How out are you? What's your plan? It's like, as a therapist, I have to have a living therapy will, which means I have a sealed document, or I send a document to somebody who is my executor, who is a fellow therapist, and should anything happen to me, they open that document, because my kids would tell them, and then they contact all of my clients and offer them support and do something else as well. And it's the same principle. Back in the day, pre-COVID, Mistress and I were at an event, we are a certain age, and we were approached by a young couple just starting to dabble in the lifestyle and sort of to speak of our experiences, not so much more about dynamic pros and cons. We thought it was really healthy for them to do so. Yes, unhealthy for you, because actually when you teach someone else, you reiterate what you know, but not only do you do that, you can also learn something new. Just because you've been doing it for 30 years doesn't mean you know better, it means you've had experiences. And sometimes someone can say, actually I would do it like that, I think I'd do it like that, and you go, fuck me, why did I never think of that? What a brilliant idea. I think we're always learning, and then there might be ways or different things that you're stuck in your way because that was the technology then, but there's a different technology now. By the way, did you know you could do this? No, I didn't do that. How do I do that? And that comes up a lot as well. I've said this before and I'll keep saying it, there is no such thing as a BDSM expert. There is not. There is no criteria. There is no... The Voice put a post up the other day, and actually it got my back up a little bit. So The Voice has a shit ton of followers, male, been in the lifestyle for about 20 years, runs workshops everywhere, gets a fair amount of people in his workshops. He can get anywhere from 20 to 100 and charges everyone $15 to $30 each. That's an awful lot of money if you work out what he's earning. And one of the workshops he was going to do or is about to do is all about how to use a belt, how to take it off, how to work with a sound, how to wrap it for punching, how to use it for throttling and strangling, or whatever else. Going, oh my god, this is so sexy, this is so sexy. And you know me, I'm such a dampener for fun. I wrote on it and I put, well, I would have a separate about choking because I think the post must come out. You mustn't put a belt around someone's neck with a post still in it, because even if it's past the holes, the post can catch. And then if the post catches that tiny metal bit, you have to pull further in to pull it out to get it out. Now, that could just knock someone out in and of itself. So, and he put, yeah, very good point. And I thought, I wonder if you're going to put that, you can put that in your workshop, like from a knowledge perspective. At least don't have the post in a belt if you're going to use it to put around someone's neck and hold them. If the post is in it and it catches, even if there isn't a hole there, it will choke them even more, because you're going to have to pull it and potentially knock them out to make it loose again. Take the fucking post out. Have a different belt for that. It's basics like that. Why would you think of that and know that unless you know someone where something bad has happened to them, which I do. And then someone else who's new might think of that and maybe I didn't. And I think that's cool if we can do those things.
Right tool for the right job, noose every time.
Yeah, but if someone wants that, if the belt is sexy and that's what it's for and that's what it's about, it's okay as long as they take the post out, because it might catch the skin a little bit, but it's not going to catch in the same way. It's just different, isn't it? But he's going to charge you $15 to $30 a head to go on his workshop and didn't even mention that. I think it's a basic safety approach for belts and throttling and strangling.
There you go. I need them every month for free.
Yeah. But, I think there's that dynamic of male, white, dominant, middle-aged, 30s to 40s. Oh, must be adored, must be loved. Like, rather than someone come and ask me exactly the same things, you the same things.
Hang on. Am I missing some cash-in points around here?
No, I think what you've done recently is probably not going to get you that. No, definitely not. But, you see it in writing as well. Like, the amount of followers white, middle-aged men have is phenomenal. And I'm really sorry if you really like him, but like that guy Aces from Australia, like he just writes the most incredible drivel, like I will look after you like my baby forever and make you feel so good. And all of a sudden he's got 130,000 or whatever he's got. It's mainly young women who have a lot of those followers anyway. But I find it quite shocking. It's a load of drivel what he's written. If I wrote, oh daddy, I'll be your good girl forever, will you look after me? It would not get 500 likes. It's really interesting what we deem as capable or as an expert, because there is no such thing. There is not an expert. There might be people who've got lots of experiences and do things really well, but it's really different.
I was going to say, has anyone got an A1 visa for kink? That would be the definition. Nope.
I mean, look, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's a frustration for me. And I get a lot of people who write to me all the time, honestly, asking me advice. And sometimes I think, why are you asking me? I don't know the answer to this. And I get that I put myself out there as someone who does know sometimes in my own way. But I think I'm reiterating all the time, I do not have all the answers and I don't know. I get some incredible questions.
But
if I was paid for every question, it'd be crazy.
But
I disagree with Cosmic with the right tool for the job thing, as pervertibles can be lots of fun, more about the way it's used, appropriate preparation of thought. Yeah, but I think actually that's what Cosmic would also say. He would also say that, you can use great things, but that Dom who thought shoving a whisk inside my cunt was a fantastic idea, maybe should have asked me if I had a coil in first. It's all about asking questions. And actually, if you're going to put a balloon whip inside a fat woman, or an overweight woman, there is more weight and fat inside the vaginal walls. So as you put it in, it can catch the walls, it can twist and turn the vaginal walls inside. So actually just, don't use a balloon whisk.
We all have knowledge and we all have different experiences, different things, and dip into different people.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the reason why you get asked so many questions is not necessarily because someone thinks you have all of the answers, but that you listen to enough people that you can probably point someone off in the right direction. So if someone came...
Because I say I don't have all the answers. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know sometimes. Maybe that's part, I think...
They're feeding into your need to know all of the answers.
But a lot of the fun of this is actually finding your own answers.
Yes, that I agree with. That's
not being taught by someone else, this is what you do, this is how you do it. You find your own answers. I've watched Cosmic do fasting. I feel fantastic. I wouldn't do it, it's not my thing. Likewise, if he saw me play, he'd say, what's he getting out of that? Totally different. But we get on.
It's so personal, isn't it? It's so personal.
Yeah.
It really is. All right, we're at the end actually. It's 3 o'clock.
I know, it's scary. Thank you again for the time that you've spared for us. It's always a pleasure, and just as we've had the conversation many times that we never thought things would go on quite this long, and I think I probably... Yeah, I think I spend more time with you than some of the other people in my life at the moment, but there we go.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for being that generous and for tolerating us this much.
It's gone on longer than Cosmic's orgasm control. There you go.
No, it's not. Because
that's what somebody wrote, so it must be factual.
The longest of those, in terms of the longest I've maintained orgasm control with one individual, is in excess of 12 years now. And she actually admitted the other day that when things got boring with her kink-ish ex, that she used to sneak the earbuds in and listen to the audio files that I gave her when he wasn't performing as well as he should have been.
Oh no, let's not start that conversation. All right, my lovely. Yeah, thank you for coming. I've got my normal one on Thursday as well, so see you all at different times.
Cool, thank you very much indeed. And the stream will be signing off now.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
And there we go, we're out of the Zoom session for now. Please remember, if you're enjoying this, you know, you've got our permission, you've got our consent. Go on, stroke that subscribe button, you know you want to. And equally, if you're enjoying things, hit like, hit share, let people know what's going on. Here are the details for the next session that's going on. And as we're coming round and up to 3 o'clock, that brings us through to the book reading, which will be happening shortly. A couple of adverts to throw in there first. And let me just check the feed to see if anyone is guessing on the Easter eggs. Nope, there doesn't seem to be any guesses yet. So keep noting things, keep your eye out, and you never know, you might be in for a winner on this particular prize. And just a quick moment or two before we join Zach from Dirty Sexy Words with something on pony play. So without further ado, I hand you across, so make sure you are sitting down and ready for an enjoyable listen.
Hi everyone, Zach again from Dirty Sexy Words, Kinky Books are my game and all that, and this week going to be talking about ponies, pony play, which is a popular kink that's been around for centuries. I've heard it said that the ancient Romans used to go in for human ponies, racing and so on. My history is not all it should be, so I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but it's something I have heard. Pony play is something I quite like, though I'm not a pony. What I like is driving pony carts. In terms of entertaining stories, some of you older ones might remember that about 20 years ago, when SM Pride used to have big marches through central London, there were pony carts. I drove carts a couple of times. The perhaps less edifying adventure in pony karting was I was driving a big cart with a chain of 4 human ponies, trotting along on their leashes in front of this car, which was a truck trailer, and I'm standing up in the front, miniskirt, crop top, hat, heels, stockings, whip, which I wasn't very good with. Managed not to take everyone's head off anyway. But anyway, so there we are, in the middle of the parade, cart pulled by ponies, Madam Zach on top of the cart, giving it some with the whip, and we rounded the road into Trafalgar Square, and all the tourists looked, and I'm thinking, I am Boadicea, I am the warrior queen. And the front axle popped on the cart, and the end of the cart went kaboom, and I fell on my arse. In the cart, mercifully not out of it, and we had to stop for 5 minutes while someone came and reattached the thing, what it was at the front, not axle, the tow bar. Anyway, so I looked like a knob in front of 2,000 tourists. That didn't put me off pony karting. I've always enjoyed seeing people be ponies. People who are ponies seem to really enjoy it and find it relaxing. You can feed them sugar lumps off your hand, and you can get them to prance and jump and walk on a lead, and you can get them to pull a cart. Now, I am not petite, as most of you know, and you might think, that's all very well, Zach, but I'm a little tiny slip of a subby thing, and I'd love to have the honour of pulling you in your pony cart, but I don't think I can do it. You could, because a well-built pony cart takes all the weight on the wheels, so even a not very strapping person can pull a pony cart. I have actually tried pulling one, not in full pony gear, nobody's putting a tail up my bottom, no. But just testing the weight, got a mate to sit in it, now come here, hand on the shaft, trot it round the garden. It's no worse than a moderately loaded shopping trolley. And yeah, it can be fun. So if you like the idea of being non-verbal, passive, controlled, doing as you're told, getting rewards and punishments, and you like the look of pony gear, of which there is some lovely stuff, then ponying might be for you. And if you've got your own cart and you want to give me a run round the block in it, form an orderly queue. I have got a lovely book on ponies recently in stock, The Human Pony, which has been out for a while. I think the publication date was 15 to 20 years ago, maybe longer. 2008, so not quite as ancient as some of the good comprehensive books on how to kink, but this is a nice one. I'm just going to find you a picture or two to show. No, that's got a bare bum in it, so we can't see that one. You see that? That's a pony being given some orders. And what else do we have? oh gosh, that's a pony doing some high stepping. And that's a pony with a cart. And I'll just shut that in the wrong place. Yeah, see? Pony with a cart going for a race. Last year, actually, when I was at an event where there was a slave auction, one of the slaves was a pony with their own cart. So I bid very high, got the pony to take me for a drive around the woods, which was fab. People do go in for a bit of pony carting. It's one of the few kinks you can do that outdoors. So whatever happens in the coming months, if you get a fine dry day, you can go and be a pony in the woods. Obviously, usual brains stuff applies. Do not start acting up with kinky stuff in the woods where somebody might see you. You know, getting down to business and a troop of Boy Scouts come around the corner. No. But if you've got a big garden, you could have a go. Other things. I'm shortly going to read you a bit of a story, not one of mine. It's actually from the classic pony cart human pony novel, which is Penny in Harness by Penny Birch, which came out in the late 90s, and it was the one that kind of brought, it almost was the equivalent for ponies of 50 Shades of Shit for kink in general, because it was the first erotic book featuring ponies that got a moderately mainstream audience, because it was published by Nexus, who pretty much ran the market in naughty fiction at that point. And the author was also somebody who was well into ponies, so knew all the stuff, why the fetish works, how to do it safely and stuff like that. And you have this rollicking good story where everybody ends up at some point with a tail inserted and being whipped in front of a cart and having a lovely time. So I shall read you a bit of that in a minute. And hopefully, if you're interested in ponying, there are pony groups on FetLife and other people who are into it. So hopefully you'll get to have some pony fun of your own at some point. Anyway, there's going to be a little slideshow with some appropriate pictures, and then I'm going to read you some pony porn. So brace yourself. Right, story time. Reading glasses on, all sitting comfortably, washed your hands, got a drink within reach and all that. This is going to be an extract from Penny in Harness. You'll notice, if you're paying attention, that the book I'm holding up is in fact New Erotica Volume 4 from Nexus. This is because Penny in Harness is a hard one to get hold of. It was published years and years ago, and it was very, very popular, so it's kind of a rarity now. There's a possibility in the wonderful big box of books, what I haven't unpacked yet from a new stock haul, there might be an actual copy of Penny in Harness in there. But we'll have to see about that. I might have to keep it for myself. But what they did do was take some extracts from half a dozen popular Nexus stories and republish them in collections. So this one from New Erotica number 4. Here is a bit of Penny in Harness. They're having a pony cart race, and Penny, the heroine, who is a very, very naughty girl, she's going to cheat because she wants to get her hands on somebody, and the only way she thinks she can do it is by throwing the race, so forfeits have to be paid. But this is what they're doing. As Amber announced that Henry was now taking challenges for racing, I sidled over to where Vicky was getting into her pony girl gear. Anderson was across the yard talking to Michael and Ginny, so Vicky asked me to help her. She was already naked, and I kissed her and squeezed one firm buttock before starting to lace the waist belt of her harness. "I'd like to make you a deal," I whispered. "Are you willing to lose a race?" "Maybe," she answered doubtfully. "How about a nice bribe?" I offered. Her mouth broke into a mischievous grin. telling me that a bribe was exactly what she wanted. A piggy girl to play with, I suggested. Her eyes lit up. I'd known she liked the fantasy for some time. She nodded, glancing over to Anna, who was standing rather aloofly, admiring the carriage. I helped Vicky with the rest of her tack, leaving only her bridle off, so that she wasn't technically in role. She then walked over to Anderson, who in turn spoke to Henry Gresham to arrange the challenge. I strolled away nonchalantly, heading for where the others were standing. As I reached them, I saw Anderson slip Vicky's bit into her mouth and give her reins to Henry. Both men then made for the centre of the yard. Vicky, now Hippolyta, ponies have their own names, paced behind them. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "we have our first challenge. Mr. Anderson Croom challenges any all-female team to beat his pony girl, Hippolyta, over a single lap. Mr. Croom will not be driving and would like to offer his seat to Miss Anna Vale by special request from Hippolyta. Miss Vale?" I glanced over to Anna Vale. She was clearly flattered, as anyone would be if a beautiful pony girl wanted to be driven by them. "And the prize?" she demanded haughtily, but not without real curiosity. "The prize," Henry continued, "should you win, is the submission of both pony girl and driver of the losing team to your desire, subject only to stop words. Should you lose, the winning driver will have the right to spank you and drive Hippolyta herself." That wasn't quite what I'd said, but the offer was good and surely had to tempt Anna. She got to drive Vicky anyway, and if she won, she would have the submission of 2 other women. I saw her glance cautiously around, and I wondered if it were too obvious a trap. She was lighter than everyone else, except myself and Poppy, and maybe Catherine. Anyone who accepted the challenge was clearly going to end up as her plaything. It occurred to me that she might have seen me speak to Vicky, but if she had, it might have seemed that I was manufacturing an excuse to submit to her myself. I shot her a coy glance to reinforce that theory in her mind. She responded with a knowing look, and I knew I had her. "I accept the challenge," I announced. "A challenge from Miss Amber Oakley," Henry responded, fortunately getting the names the right way round. "Who will be your pony girl?" "Honey, of course," I answered, reaching out to stroke her head. I hadn't explained to her what I was up to, and she shot me the most wonderful "I'm going to get you later" look. The expression on Henry's face was splendid too, as he evidently hadn't expected to see his one-time protégée as a pony girl. Amber was a good sport and began to strip immediately. As I helped her harness up, I saw Anderson buckling Vicky into place and wondered if they might not have decided to pull a double bluff on me. It seemed unlikely, as Vicky would then lose her piggy girls. And anyway, there were worse fates than being Anna Vale's plaything. Everything was going perfectly, but there was one other detail that I couldn't do without. "Aren't we racing with tails?" I asked loudly, as if the idea had only just occurred to me. "We don't, usually," Michael pointed out. "It slows you down." "Referee?" I queried. Ask a 50-year-old pony girl enthusiast if he'd like to see 2 girls wearing plug-in tails, and the answer is not going to be no. "Yes, tails, I think it is," Henry said, as if on cue. Amber gave me another of her looks. I smiled and kissed her. "Is poor little honey Amber going to have a tail up her bottom?" I teased her, letting my hands slide down the curve of her bottom to prod meaningfully between her cheeks. I had her kneel and stick her bum out while I fetched Ginny's tail and pulled a condom over the plug. A well-greased finger opened Amber's hole. So there you go. Tails up bottoms, a race with prizes to win and humiliation, but enjoyable humiliation for the losers. So look out for that book if you can find it. It's dead good, but there are plenty of other pony stories and plenty of pony fun to be had. Till the next time, darlings, wash your hands, be good, take care. Don't forget you put your masks on. I'm not wearing a mask because I'm talking to you and I'm alone in my own boudoir. Bye.
There we go again. Thank you to Zach of Dirty Sexy Words for another fantastic book reading.
Hi, Debbie Spank here. I've been asked to do a podcast on a little bit of history of Spank. Before I start, I'd like to say that I'm really missing everybody and missing Lamb, and I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Firstly, the name Spank. I think I'll leave that to your imagination of why I would have called it that. I started the business in 1986. I was working as a manageress in Oxford Street, Jean Genie, and I was really had a passion for fashion, and I just started making little things like earrings for curtain rings, and I used to customize things from I picked up from Oxfam, and people really liked my creations. So I decided to get a little market stall in Camden, and it was difficult, because I was working full time in Oxford Street and also trying to make stuff and working weekends and evenings, and eventually I decided to take a chance and give up my full-time job, which was a big shock to the system, because I was sitting in a bed sit in Brixton trying to make clothes, which wasn't an easy task, I must say. I think I really decided that my best part of my business was me designing and selling. So I decided to try and get out work as machinist to help with the actual making. I remember the first day in Camden I did it. It was like snowing, and I took £5. But I persisted, and things did get better. So I took on another stall in Camden Market up in the stables. So I had two stalls. I had someone working for me, and at the time I was it was more tie dyes, my earlier designs, and I used to make flared sleeve tops, and I used to sew motifs on the front, and then I used to tie dye them. They sold really well. And I started doing the Festi circuit, Glastonbury, Reading, all of those festivals. And things were going really well. I thought, as I'm talking, I'd put up a few of my old creations through the years, Spank designs. As you can see, it's going to change quite a lot up until where we are today. This is my shop in Camden. As you can see, it's kind of like it's going a bit cyber club wear, and still got my tie dyes there. I also took on two stalls in Kensington Market. One was up on the first floor next to Red Bulls on Fire, an excellent glam rock designer from Los Angeles. We used to get a lot of people coming in. Alice Cooper used to hang out, and Robert Smith from The Cure, and I'm going to do a bit of name dropping now. I had Debbie Harry came to my shop, and Kylie Minogue came to my shop. I must say, when I was in Camden Market, it was about 87, I think, Madonna's agent came in and brought a pair of orange hot pants, crushed velvet, I'll never forget it, because Hanky Spanky came out about the same time as I called my business Spank, which was really convenient. Anyway, I'm going off the subjects. So where was I? Actually, while I'm on that subject, when I was in the shop in Camden Market, it was in the Stables Market. It had 2 floors. It was quite a big shop. This guy came in at the end of the day, and he said he was going on tour with The Cure. His name was Paul. He was the bass player, and he ended up buying a lot of outfits. Here are some of the pictures of my shop and some of the outfits I was doing then. And he spent £800, which was great. But I should have took some pictures. But hey, I never even asked for his autograph. Silly woman. But that's my claim to fame. Anyway, I'm still actually making a few things for friends in bands. Here's a picture of Raymond from Pig in his couple of outfits I made for him for his tour in America and Japan. I will say, I was one point in my life that I thought I should franchise the business because I thought it would make it easier. But so many of my customers said, "Oh no, please, you'll just sell out. Your stuff is so individual, and that's great. So don't mass market it." But it would have been easier for me and it would have made more money, but I don't think it's all about money anyway. I think in this business or any business, you've either got to be very big or small. I don't think there's anything in the middle because of the VAT and all that, which I've struggled with when I did once go there, but I think it's better to keep small now. Anyway, back to my story. When eventually Kensington Market sadly closed down and Camden Market became very mainstream, I decided to pull out. So that was when I was thinking, where am I going to go now? So I came across London Alternative Market, which was perfect for where I was going with my designing. Yeah, what do I enjoy about my job most? That's another question. I think probably the happiness that I can see in people's faces when a customer comes in and they may be big ladies, small ladies, or have issues with their bodies, like I'm sure we all do. And they walk out and they're really feeling sexy in the clothes, and men as well. I do a lot of men's clothes, really into men's clothes at the moment, getting new designs all the time. But yeah, the selling, I don't push, but I love to see people happy with the purchase and the designing. I love the designing. Just that sometimes you get so many in your head and it's too much. You just can't get it all out there. What's the best feedback I've received? I would say probably the hugs I've had from ladies and men that have come into my stall and been so happy and said that you've made my day because I went out and I felt really happy and felt really confident. I would say that's, I've even had tears from customers sometimes, which is beautiful, I think. Anyway, I think I've answered all the questions and I'm showing you lots of pictures of all the clothes through the years of Spank. I will just say one thing, that when I eventually did give up my job, which was 1986, my mother said, no, don't give it up. But you know, in retrospect, I'm very pleased I did. I know I was a bit of a high flyer with managing and going around the country and troubleshooting. But, you know, I would encourage anybody to take a chance. It's hard work. It's really hard work. Maybe that's why I never got married or had kids, because it's been my baby. But it's been worth it. Anyway, guys, I think I better close there. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all again. And I hope you're all keeping really well and safe. It's not an easy time, I must admit, but things can only get better, eh? Much love to all. Bye. Oh, and I've forgotten the most important thing. Where you can find me and buy my lovely wares. www.spankonline.co.uk. Yeah, please check out my website. And yeah, any queries, any questions, don't hesitate to get hold of me. Okay, guys, see you soon. Bye.
And please don't forget, there's a subscribe button. It's there for a reason. If you want to catch the latest, you know, from the horse's mouth, the real stuff that's going on with LAM, hit the subscribe button. It's the way you're going to find out. Equally, there is a newsletter on the website. Sign up to that and get the information as soon as it comes out. If you're enjoying today, please hit the like button. I see a few of you have already. Much appreciated for that. But I'm not seeing anyone guess the Easter egg yet. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone beyond the binary. It's there. There's money to be won. You never know, you might be able to scan back through them quickly and put in a guess. There's about probably half an hour left of guessing time. And here we are on the schedule, coming around to 3:30, a couple of LAM updates and some drop-in shop stuff. Here we go. Updates on what's going on with LAM. Well, it was awesome to see so many of you come out for the last of the summer fates the other weekend. As luck would have it, I have one of the sliders lined up for that, and I will play that in a minute because it really was an awesome day out in terms of the weather, the stalls, the vibe, the atmosphere. We even had an impromptu visit from a couple of people that looked like they may have been strippers, but they certainly weren't the ones I booked, but there we go. But they had a lovely day out as well. They said it was very well managed and so much safer than a trip to the supermarket. So let me show you what you missed. And just a quick reminder that yes, we will be continuing events. At the moment we don't have any dates in the diary. We are in discussions with several London venues at present, however, and we will get back to you as soon as we have some viable information. Equally, you know what, any of you, if you've got a venue or an option, get in touch with us. Part of the issue at the moment is that the only people getting permission to do stuff moving forward are legitimate limited companies with insurance, which we all hold, but obviously the venues is a little bit of an issue at the moment. But the good news is we also now have a big stack of gazebos and marquees that we can put up places. And in the meantime, we're going to carry on with the format of big lambs and mini lambs. So to replace any normal lamb event, if we don't have an event on, then we'll do a full workshops included live stream, starting at about 12:30, going out with the newbies at 1, and then all of the way through till about 7 or 8 o'clock. We will be with you, and we will be presenting the most amount of content we can. And then to keep you busy on second Sundays, we're going to have a quickie, a mini lamb, from 12:30 going live at 1 o'clock through till about 4 o'clock, just to keep you busy and entertained, give you something to look forward to. Same on the third Sunday of the month. Fourth Sunday of the month, when we would normally do LAMchester, well, you know what, we're going to still be doing LAMchester, coming at you loud and proud with another long version of LAM, workshops, healthy mental practices, everything put in to make it, you know what, all you need for a Sunday. If there is a fifth Sunday of the month, you know what, we're also going to do another quickie and mini lamb live on those dates as well. Keeping you as entertained as we can through this lockdown period, and keeping things as positive as possible as well. Let me just check the feed. Oh, bingo! We have a winner on the Easter egg. I was wondering if anyone was going to get this. Anyone who's been keeping their eyes out has spotted biscuits in the pictures. Well, if you took the first letter of all of the biscuits, jumbled them up and rearranged it, you got Cockwomble. There you go. So someone has won, and you want to know what you've won? Congratulations, you have won. Let me just type this in so that you're the first to hear it. Okay. You have won £50 in lamb cash to spend at the next event. So there you go, congratulations. What we will do is we will make contact with you after this, or if you want to send the lamb profile a message on FetLife, then we will make arrangements to have that credited to your shopping account. Speaking of shopping accounts, I smoothly segue through to our dear friends at Godmishi, and we are going to go through to the drop-in shop and transition across and catch up. This is a repeat of one we did recently, but it is a rather good one. And you know what? When things are starting to get a bit drab, a little bit dull, a bit of colour, it's what we all need. And with that, we hand you over to Adam. And today, for the lamb drop-in shop, we're going to be joined by Adam from Godmishi. So, let me just... There we go, Adam. You're now...
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to the drop-in shop. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. And while I quickly press the buttons, colourful entrance for a colourful man, and my favourite Piggy and Monica is now on the screen. How are you both?
We are very good, thank you. Obviously today you just have me, because I'm the irresponsible person that has a big mouth, so I get this role to talk to you today. But we are both really good. Thanks for asking. Yourself?
Excellent, not too bad. I'm just about coping, locked in my little studio man cave, but there we go, and very much looking forward to getting out and about and heading down the farm on the 11th of July. But
seeing real people, I know. It's yes.
It's
a strange thought, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, but I'm having to write all of the rules to make sure everyone understands. Stay sensible distances apart. Be sensible.
Yeah.
This is a shopping-focused event, but we'll take it forward from there. Speaking of shopping, and in particular your namesake, the first of your products, the Adam. Go on, tell me a little bit about it. We're going to delve straight in there today and talk about products.
We're straight in there. So the Adam was actually the very first dildo we made. It's basically a phallic filler is the best way to explain this thing. If you want something that looks phallic, it's smooth from the sort of realistic head, but it's pretty girthy. It's a good chunky dildo that will give you a stretched full feeling. So basically we've got that one, and then we've got its bigger version, the 8-inch, which is the same size, the same circumference, just a bit longer.
Yes.
We do you know what, we do them in a soft as well, actually, though, for those people. The soft silicone that we use is a 0050, which basically it actually feels quite realistic in terms of when you wrap your hands or other body parts around it. It's squishable but quite realistic.
Absolutely, and it's nice to have that different range of materials and textures, because not everyone wants a solid fill. They might want a bit of a soft and squidgy, as it were.
Yeah, very much so. It's different strokes for different folks.
And of course for different products, because as we move swiftly along to the Ambit, I couldn't imagine a floppy one of those would quite deliver the poke in the right places.
It definitely doesn't. If you want a floppy curved dildo, then basically what you want is a floppy dildo. Because what's the point in having a curve? So the Ambit was actually a product that we made on Snapchat. We made it live on Snapchat, made it in clay, sculpted it, and it was specifically for prostate and G-spot stimulation. The reason we chose those two is because pretty much it's the same thing. The prostate and G-spot, same size, sort of same length inside the body, and has very similar characteristics. But with us being the couple we both enjoy prostate and we both enjoy G-spot stimulation between us. So it was a product that we wanted to use, and it's great. It's a firmer toy as well, so that curve really sort of comes in and gives you an extra stimulation on the G-spot or the prostate. But the firmness of it makes it a great squirting toy as well. We don't actually have many people say anything bad about it, which is slightly frustrating, because sometimes you want to make something better, but when nobody complains about it, how do you make it better?
Well, keep doing what you do, keep listening to people, and adding a bit of creativity. If you can't add creativity in the design, then, slosh it on in lashes of colour.
Exactly. This is what we do, but the problem is we get into a point where colours are getting almost into ridiculous amounts. It's phenomenal. That particular one, an Ambit, we can have in like 9,700 different colours. In terms of combinations, it's ridiculous. And then you take the bases into it, so a different vibrating or a suction cup or something like, we end up with nearly 30,000 variations for one product. And we're not even talking about the different sizes. That's 30,000 variations per size. There's 3 sizes.
It's quite impressive.
Ridiculous.
Quite impressive indeed.
You say impressive, we say ridiculous, but it's cool. Everybody likes colour.
Absolutely. And speaking of colour, one of my favourite shots that you sent me, the one of the small Ambit. Now that is some serious marbling. That really is.
It's. I mean, we get with regards to sort of the way in which toys mixed, pearlescence, you can get some phenomenal mixes, and the way in which they sort of incorporate with each other. Not so much with glitters, because they're a colour that don't impregnate each other. And sort of your block standard colours tend to work differently, but pearls always come out good, because they've got this beautiful texture. Even though it's a smooth surface, they have this wonderful texture within inside a single colour. So when you mix it with another colour, you have this amplified version of texture and marbling. It's just perfect. We love colour.
Perfect for putting on a veiny item, as it were. So we have the Hercules small, and let me just change to the medium, which is very popular in the people who visited my house in recent years.
The true story is the people at LAM. Yes, you people watching this, which is one of the big reasons we actually made the Hercules, and that was about being able to create a fantasy phallic toy that was large with texture. So we went and we created the Hercules with it being sort of slightly mythical and a fantasy based, uncircumcised. So it's got that little tip of the head coming out there, and then texture through the veins. It was it was so big. I say it was so big. It was perfect for the markets, but then a lot of the people that we sort of sell to that aren't at the markets, it was too big for, so we had to scale it down. Hence the reason we have the 3 sizes. But we also have it in a soft, so it comes in a slightly firmer silicone and a soft, which is it changes that product dramatically in terms of how it feels when you use it. Yeah, but again, different strokes for different folks.
Absolutely, and the ever-present and very popular slapping balls.
Yes, the realistic swinging balls, and they do slap as well. If you've ever owned or you speak to anybody that has a Hercules, those balls were one of the 2 things I wanted it to do was swing, but I also wanted, when we designed it, to have one slightly lower than the other. So if you have a look at the balls, one is slightly lower than the other, just because everybody's balls is a little bit lower than the other. A bit like a boob, one's bigger than the other. I just wanted to keep that, keep the realism in there.
Absolutely, and a very popular product. I dare say in all of the sizes that it's available. Anyway, moving swiftly on, shall we say? We have the Plug B in small.
Oh, the Plug B. Okay, so the Plug B was one of the 3 products that we started with. It was specifically made for problems that we encountered, things that we found when we started playing, which was it's hard to get good starter beginner anal toys, and that's what we did. We created a plug that we wanted to use and we liked. So the Plug B itself being quite a small, almost like wine stopper plug, but it's lovely in the sense of it's just enough to enjoy as a beginner, or even just somebody that enjoys anal on a casual basis. But we also gave it a T-base, this section here. And the reason we gave it a T-base is so it sits nice and comfortably between your butt cheeks. See, a circle base looks great with a gem in, it looks wonderful, but it's not the most comfortable. So we opted with a T-base for comfort. And yeah, it's we're happy. We're really happy with that product.
Good, and also available in the larger size as well.
It does. Again, it's pretty much the same thing. We've slightly we've beefed out the body a little bit and sort of elongated this base out a touch, but it's the same product, just slightly larger.
Mm-hmm. And comfortable for long-term wear, I dare say.
Very comfortable for long-term wear, but again, it's what's the record? I mean, I know I've spoke to people that have kept it in for a good 6-7 hours, but I'm pretty aware that you know of something longer.
Yes, I believe a few people, probably up to about 15 hours. I always jest on this one, having been told off on TV recently, oh, you're only supposed to wear them for 15 minutes. It's like, yeah, really? No. I think that's very much an individual thing. If 15 minutes is your limit, then that's fine, that's awesome. But there are people who are marathon runners who enjoy a little bit more endurance, and they need to be filled for the day, as it were. But there we go. And speaking of more experimental design, we transition quickly through to the Apex in small.
The Apex. Oh, so the Apex. Okay, so let's the best way to explain the Apex is if you take a butt plug and then you take anal beads and then you just kind of smash them together, then you end up with the Apex. It was we enjoy anal beads, we enjoy butt plugs. Butt plugs, you put them in and then kind of finish. Anal beads are great going in, they're great coming out, but they're a bit messy. The Apex is a bit of everything there. It was specifically designed with these bulbous sections for the beads, like an anal bead. But the biggest thing for it was this neck, just here at the very bottom, is actually a thinner neck. And the reason it's thinner is so the way in which the muscles work in the butthole, shall we say, is there's not enough there for it to grab, so it actually pushes that last bead out. So you end up popping this bead out, and you push it back in, and then it pops back out, and you push it back in. So it became this plug you really do play with continually. And it's nowhere near as messy as anal beads.
Yeah.
Again, comes with a T-base.
Self-repeating or self-propelling, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. And now we transition on to a subject that I know is very, very keen to your heart, the peg and pegging.
The peg and pegging. So the peg is number 3 in those 3 products: the Adam, the Plug B, and the peg. Those are the 3 products we started with. And again, it was about trying to find a good pegging product. At the time, everything was jelly, everything was soft. And if you ever experience anything anal-wise, pegging and things, soft just really doesn't work as a beginner. So we went for firmer silicones. The peg has texture in the middle. We then made the Apprentice, which was basically the peg, but a little bit thicker and smoother. And they are our beginner anal dildos. Again, based very much on a finger, sort of the thickness, the width of a finger, just longer and way more colourful.
Indeed, we've just transitioned across to the glittery Apprentice. I've certainly heard a few people over the years squee and run towards the glittery designs.
Yes, glitter. Do you know what? It's not so much just glitter; it's colour. But when you sit in the position we do, where we have so much colour, and you get to speak to people on a daily basis, when you hear them squeal, as you have through LAM, like because of a colour, it's a wonderful thing. It really is.
Well, it's bringing that little bit of joy into people's lives.
It is.
And speaking of joy that can be delivered on a regular basis, it's time to talk about the offbeats. So we've got the venti up on the screen. Give me the lowdown.
So the offbeat is oh my god! I've had so many masturbators over the years. It took a while to really find something that we were really happy with. It had to be enjoyable. It had to be ergonomic. It had to be not so wasteful in material and so bulky. And that is how we ended up with the offbeats. We ended up splitting them up into 2 designs, which was the smaller and the larger. The longer one is designed for just your traditional wanking, like a straight up and down, playing on yourself. You can also play together or as a group, as a couple, things like that. But the shorter version was, again, it's another way of playing, another way in which we play. And it was about being able to incorporate oral into playing with the toy as well. So with the shorter version, it gives you much more sort of plain head stimulation. But the trick, this is a super cool trick, is you can slide it all the way down the shaft, and then if you're giving a blowjob at the same time, the 2 inches on the short actually gives you this sensation of a deep throat blowjob, which is a really nice sensation. And that's a product we enjoy playing with.
Absolutely. Yes, so that brings us through to the range of products. I think that's where we are for the day, as it were. Let me just bring you back up onto the main screen and make you a little bit bigger so that we can have that final chit chat. Do you have anything interesting in the pipeline in terms of new things that you can give us a sneak preview of?
Oh, we always have new things on the way. So I can't technically give you a sneak preview because I'm struggling to get things made and all the other bits. But I can say, if you enjoy the ambit, I told you we can't really make it better. So what we've done is we've kind of made the ambit, but not the ambit, but we've made it better. That's to come. The drool gags that we have have been oh my god, they've gone down a storm. We love playing with ball gags to apply a texture into a ball gag that makes you drool. Drool, I think, is proper hot. So the more drool you have, like that's been a winner. The soap as well. He likes to soap. So yeah, we've got, there's a lot of stuff coming. Some new plugs coming as well. Yeah, there's always fun stuff happening here. It's trying to rein us in sometimes so we can show people.
Indeed. Well, maybe we'll find a way of bringing your product into people's homes on a basis. All the best to Monica. All the best to you, to the rest of your team.
I will pass along your and yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us today. It's been wow, we haven't been had by a real person in such a long. It's a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Well, I'll be knocking on your door again soon.
No worries. Just remember to bring the lube.
Absolutely. And just a quick reminder that we also have a Telegram group chat that runs throughout lockdown. So if you're looking to reach out and contact anyone, that's a great way of doing that. Don't have to give your mobile number or your name. It's just a way of connecting to other kinky people. At the end of the day, you know what? We understand each other. We understand each other better than others do. So there are just some conversations you need to have around people who are like-minded. And this is really what this is all about. It's a weekly conversation with like-minded people. Or one would hope anyway. And congratulations again to the Easter egg winner. You know what? It's all about participation with LAM. You observed, you listened, you kept your eye out, you won the prize. You have £50 to spend at the next event, which, all being well, will hopefully be in October. But you know what? It'll be as soon as we can make it safe and sensible to do so. You know what? Part of keeping healthy at the moment is getting a good dose of relaxation where you can. So if you're finding that living in London is incredibly stressful and you need to get out and escape a little bit, this is a recent trip I did a couple of months ago now up to Cambridge, where I ended up walking through an ancient beech forest. I mean, just beautiful, beautiful place on an amazing day, and I had some really good company with me that day as well. So this is one of my ways of getting out and resetting. I need to go out and record a few more of these while the weather's still good. Expect to see them cropping up in other LAM stuff, because you know what? We all have stressful lives, and just taking that couple of minutes, really healthy way of managing it and dealing with it. Because let's face it, you don't want to be one of those cockwombles who takes to the internet like an angry dinosaur. And don't forget, whenever we are live streaming, there is also a Zoom chat that goes on. So if you're looking for interactive chat and conversation, that's a great place to head. Catch up with what's going on. And equally, we've also been asked to help promote awareness of a Greater London COVID shielding group, which is on FetLife, for those that need to be extra cautious and shield at this stage. Remember, this is definitely a situation where your precautions are okay, even if they're not the same or different to yours. Okay? Remember, we have to live in a world where we practice acceptance at all opportunities, because that's the only way we will get there ourselves, to be perfectly frank. So, remember, anyone who's trying to do anything at the moment will tell you that there are kind of three different groups of people that we have to cater for. There are those that can't leave for medical reasons, the extreme shielding. There are those that are prepared to come out under sensible precautions, and there are those that for a various assortment of reasons may have already had COVID and gotten over it, and are very much looking at remembering that they are still in a world that's living vibrant and colourful. So we have to find a comfortable way of managing the expectations of everyone, and that's one of the reasons why our real life events have always included the options for virtual shopping. Don't forget, if you are hanging out and joining us, take a selfie if you want, post it up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, FetLife, tag us, use the hashtag LAMLive, and we'll do a draw and give out some free mugs on Mondays. Speaking of free things and messages from stallholders,
Hi, Graham from Affordable Leather Products here. As you may well be aware, the London Alternative Market is offering advance tickets as bonds to cover their costs during the time of lockdown. We at Affordable Leather Products have got 5 of these tickets. Oh, am I covering that over? What a shame. We're giving these tickets away. If all you have to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel, go to affordable-leather.co.uk/market, and you find the link where you can subscribe. When we get up to 100 subscribers, we'll draw the 5 lucky winners, and you can get free entry to a London Alternative Market when the lockdown ends and the market starts again. That link is affordable-leather.co.uk/market.
Hello, Jed Phoenix here. This is kind of a follow-on from what Phil was saying in the newbie chat about asking traders if they can do bespoke colour combinations for you so that it matches the rest of your kit. This is something that I've done on quite a few occasions. I've done the full back corset with a purple lining as opposed to red, and I've done various other bits and pieces with bespoke colour combinations. And what arrived in the post this morning, and which I've treated with ultraviolet light, rather than trying to wash it in bleach, because I don't think fabric would really like being washed in bleach. So I've received some chiffon for a chiffon top, and it is white chiffon. Oh, I need to be really careful. There's already a mark on it. I've literally just taken it out of the packet and there's a mark on it. So yeah, I will definitely be washing my hands countless times before touching more of that. The chiffon top was designed partly out of necessity. I think I'd inherited some black chiffon when Velda died, And it was literally just sitting under the cutting table for ages before I actually used it. And the design came about because there was a model called Ivana Hyde, and she was going to be wearing one of my corsets and skirts for a photo shoot in Amsterdam. And because it was an outdoor shoot, there had to be something covering her boobs. So knowing that I was not going to be able to meet Ivana before the shoot because she lived in Holland, and also knowing that she had quite large breasts, I came up with a design, which I will put a picture of here, came up with a design that was very flexible in its fit and would allow a low profile around the waist, or just above the waist, so that a corset would be worn over the top of it. So basically, the chiffon top, very light and kind of floaty. You can wear it in a couple of different ways, and it sits beautifully underneath any kind of corset, really. So yeah, I'm producing a white version of it. It's going to look badass, of course, but yes, need to wash my hands first. Yeah, and hopefully I'll get a picture of the person who's bought this white chiffon top, so that I'll be able to post that in next week's LAM Live.
And just as we start to wrap this up, a quick reminder of the stalls that make up LAM in London, and of course our sister event up in Manchester on the 4th Sunday of the month, LAMchester, and the stalls that make up that. Huge thank you to everyone who's watched and will be watching. I hope you've enjoyed the content. I hope it keeps you off the streets, keeps you a little bit safer. Remember, don't be a cockwomble, stay indoors, and absolutely no dogging on the way home. Because you know what? Rule of 6 comes into play as of tomorrow, so that's going to cut down on the dogging action, isn't it? Can you imagine doggers having to book themselves onto a dogging site? Yeah, it's the kind of order and structure that's not really going to happen. Huge thank you again to Tall Mike for your initial life-saving infusion of IT, Steph for building the new system, which I'm now finally getting sorted and comfortable with, Phil for your newbie content, Jerry for content, Zoe for content and testing, MsstGlamBitch for the slideshows, Rigelian for the pictures, for you guys for just being absolutely awesome. Thank you for watching, have an awesome time, and we will see you as soon as we can.